Hello, welcome to another tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and number 3 in our series of pigment studies. Today, the star of the show is Raw Umber. Raw Umber, come in here, take a bow. We love you, Raw Umber, and this painting is dedicated to you. You're such a useful and beautiful color that I did this painting twice. I did a painting featuring Raw Umber twice, I should say, not the same scene. Although, funny enough, I have done this scene before. But I want to keep the focus on you, Raw Umber, not necessarily when I painted this scene before, which I'll get into hopefully in a minute. I love Raw Umber, and it's a color I didn't really bring into my palette until about 4 or 5 years ago. And that's when I had a project to do some restoration on another deceased painter's work that had a few dings and knocks, but he was surprisingly was also working on hardboard like I am now. And I found there were certain colors I just couldn't hit very easily without Raw Umber, so I bought a tube of Raw Umber, and I've never looked back. It's so useful. I use it primarily for knocking colors back, but I could do a lot with it. In fact, I like adding it to grays to warm them up. It makes a really nice tan on its own, and the reason I did this painting twice was the other scene. It was not as nice as this scene, I'll say that, but that was a good scene. But I had I just started this series and this project, and still wrapping my head around sort of the borders of the project, the limitations. And one thing I'd done in that other study was I decided, I can just do black and white and get a bluish gray in the sky. And as a painting, it might be a good start for a different painting, but I felt that it didn't feel as umber in spirit as what we're doing today. You'll see there, though we are using some black in the use of this painting, it is primarily to work off of the raw umber. Anyway, let's read a little bit about umber, and I don't usually like to go straight to Wikipedia, but we're going to do that. But before we do that, we have another little Pigments Through History from webexhibits.org. Umber is a natural mixture of iron and manganese oxides and hydroxides. Used throughout history, it has earth tones from cream to brown, depending on the amount of iron and manganese compounds, and is totally stable. This pigment is known also as sienna earth. I wasn't aware of that. But raw earth umber, it comes from... we're going to get that information a little later. Yeah. Anyway, actually, because we have two umbers on I have two umbers on my palette. I have raw umber, which I've had for a long time, and burnt umber. I always said, I can get you. You want your burnt umber? I just mix some raw umber with some burnt sienna, and that's burnt umber. Very close, super close. But raw umber on its own has some real advantages, so it's on my palette, and we'll be doing a study featuring that shortly. Yeah. I actually have to paint it still, but we will. So I thought I would read a bit from the Wikipedia about umber, and it's so beautiful, isn't this beautiful? Look at what a beautiful gray you get with it. It's exquisite. Now this is actually the only painting so far in this series that I've decided to do on the hardboard. Everything else has been on pine tinted with the color that I'm doing the study of, and so far I've worked my way up through I have raw sienna to present to you. I could have done that. I may do that next, I don't know. And Raw Umber is now, we're here, but I've also done, over the weekend, I did, just yesterday, Cadmium Orange and Cadmium Red, which are both really exciting. And what a challenge Cad Orange was, let me tell you. And that's a good reason to, I didn't really mention enough in the last 15-minute video that the 15-minute videos have got a lot of information. I'm trying to get them packed with information so they're worth your valuable 15 minutes. But the live videos, well, it's not every second I'm saying something about something or whatever. It's in the moment as I'm painting, and I think that's actually extremely valuable because there's a lot of insights that I'm trying to capture as I'm painting things. A lot of ideas pop into your head, and things I might never think to mention in my little 15-minute videos. So, you know, there's a membership option if you're interested in those videos. And every now and again, like once a month, I'll crack one out for everybody. Yeah. So anyway, enough of that. Let's tip on over to old Wikipedia. I decided what I do. That's a really nice article about umber, and since we have burnt umber to talk about in a week or so, I don't know exactly when, coming up, I thought I would just read half today, which is some stuff that basically repeats sort of what you knew, which from whatever a minute ago, but it's good to kind of pound this stuff in the old brain. You need to know about your pigments, okay? The more you know about your pigments, the more thoughtful you can be as a painter, and painting is an intellectual process. Don't let anyone tell you different. And while there have been some good painters that weren't exceptionally bright people, they were maybe just lucky in other ways. So, like, they were just aesthetically gifted, just made enough, they knew how to work within their parameters, which is one of the things that this whole series is about, is staying within certain parameters, and what a strength that can be, and how that can drive you into areas that you never would have got into otherwise. So hopefully you're getting some inspiration from this series, and dig in and explore some pigments on your own, you know, and get to really know a color like raw umber. Raw umber, I love you, and you're such a beautiful color. And like I said, so much so I wanted to do a painting that really, when you looked at it, you just go, that's the raw umber painting. Right? Anyway, here we go. I'm going to read from old Wikipedia. Umber is a natural brown or reddish brown earth pigment that contains iron oxide and manganese oxide. Umber is darker than other similar earth pigments, ochre and sienna. In its natural form, it's called raw umber. Raw umber, that's you. When heated, it's in parentheses here, it says calcinated, the color becomes more intense, and then becomes known as burnt umber, which is a lot richer and plays up the red, I'd say. The name comes from Terra di Umbra, or Earth of Umbria, the Italian name of the pigment. Umbria is a mountainous region in central Italy, where the pigment was originally extracted. The word also may be related to the Latin word umbria, meaning shadow. Umber is not one precise color, but a range of different colors. And if I can interject for a moment, Wikipedia. This is very true. Like the umber that I favor, I have tried, I believe, Camblin's, which is pretty similar in tone to the one that I used for this painting, which is from Daler Rowney. And it's our student grade umber, which is a Georgian brand, but my feeling was, hey, it's dirt, you know. They're going to chintz us on dirt. I digress, though. But some umbers that you buy, raw umbers, are going to be redder than others. Like, I definitely see a bit of a greenish feel to the umber, which, you know, is maybe more of a yellowish than a reddish tone. Definitely the burnt umber goes more reddish. So back to good old Wikipedia, who says umber is not a precise color, which is kind of what I was talking about. It goes from yellowish to reddish to grayish. Yeah, and a raw umber has that gray thing. At the same time, very interestingly, I should mention here that this was a painting where that Mars black came in really handy, because it's also a very transparent color, as muddy as it is. It's a weird how it can be so muddy and yet transparent. That's why most of the time I'm using it to change mixtures. Like I want to maybe darken something with some warmth, or I want to bring an earthiness or a dirtiness to a color that's too clean in a warm way. Because if I want to do that in a cool way, I'll use ivory black. In ivory black, I know that you want your own painting. We'll have to see what we can do. We'll see. Anyway, umber earth pigments contain between 5 and 20% manganese oxide, which accounts for their being a darker color than the yellow, ochre, or sienna, which probably has a pretty similar chemical composition, I would imagine. Ooh, I'm looking at some pictures of some rocks here. Hydrated iron oxide. It's rust. Basically, we're talking about rust. Not all umber pigments contain natural earths. Some contain synthetic iron and manganese oxide indicated on the label, which is like your Mars colors. Very interesting. And so synthetic black played a role in this painting. Yeah, because what I found is I can work around transparency or opacity of almost any pigment. However, when I'm limited to only 3, if the black is transparent and the pigment's transparent, I'm struggling to get opacity where I need it, because I have to bring in white, which is automatically going to muddy things. So the Mars black brought me some opacity in the darker side, the same way that the titanium white was bringing in opacity from the other side. And so, like a lot of these umber tones you see me paint, they're actually I mixed an opaque version of the raw umber. So I took a certain amount of raw umber, and this is all in the live video. You see I'll be messing with that back and forth. So you go, well, that seems silly, but otherwise I would have struggled to cover up the color of the board underneath, and thus we wouldn't have had a true first of all, wouldn't have been that attractive. Second of all, we wouldn't have had a true representation of raw umber in its spirit. And that is my intention with this study, because raw umber is a really, really cool color, and you can see how beautiful this is and how it's celebrating all of those tones. And this is like one of the ones where I'm not even crying that much about not having the yellow. And boy, you're going to hear about that when we get into some of the sherbet tones in the orange study coming up. Yeah. Anyway, we're getting kind of close to the end. Hey, tip on over to my website. I am working on trying to get some more paintings up there in the store. Check it out. That's actually the real place to check my stuff out too. The portfolio section is sort of quite out of date. Yeah. Anyway, if you got some value from this video we've done today, some people like to throw me some do-re-mi at the donation station, which is also there at my website. But you watching, that's just great. Appreciate it. Thanks for getting this far, and yeah, appreciate you. Anyway, stay tuned for the next that's coming up. I think it's going to be raw sienna. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. That one's next. That's going to be pretty exciting. Very nice painting we did with raw sienna. And until I come back with another video, please do me a favor. Take good care of your family, your loved ones. Please try and be tolerant of other people, especially with their views differ from your own. And stay out of trouble. Take good care.